Once you guys have that down, we're just going to stay in first gear, and we're going to let our clutch out very slowly, get ourselves back up to around 5 miles an hour like we were before, and I'm going to start to slowly engage the throttle, just so we can get enough speed that I can pick my feet up and put them on the foot pegs, so we can feel like we're actually riding a bike. So slowly let your clutch out. You'll feel it start to pull the bike. And you can hear the bike beginning to bog down. It's getting a little jerky and it doesn't sound too good. It needs some throttle, so I'm going to give it just a very small twist. Just hardly anything at all. And that's all it needs. I can take my hand fully off of the clutch now. I'm only doing about 8 miles an hour here. And I'm just giving it I'm just pulling just enough on the throttle that I can feel a little tension behind the throttle. And that's it. I'm not gripping it tightly at all. It's just 2 fingers gently twisting. I'm gonna lean into my turn here and very slowly turn my handlebars to the left. As you guys are moving around the parking lot at this speed, turning your handlebars left and right is the proper way to steer. If you guys have heard of the terms counter steering, that comes much later when you're going at much higher speeds and you can actually lean the bike properly to steer through turns and curves. But for right now at this speed, just gently leaning into your turns, very gently, and turning the handlebars in the direction you really want to go. That is all you need for steering at this speed. So once you guys have that down and you've driven around the parking lot a little bit, you can get yourself a little more speed. And around 12 to 13 miles an hour is where my bike likes to go from first into second gear. So I'm going to go around this curve here, and I'm going to show you guys how to shift. So from speed, we're in first gear. I'm going about 12 miles an hour. I'm just going to hold my throttle steady for the moment. What I'm going to do is squeeze in on my clutch at the same time as I release my throttle all the way. And then I'm going to use my left foot to pull the shifter up into second. It all happens at once, but I'm going to break it down into little steps for you guys so you can see it all happen in slow motion. So I'm going to squeeze in on my clutch, release my throttle all the way, click up into second with my left foot, slowly let out on the clutch as I slowly give it a little more throttle with my right hand. And now we are in second gear. Now when shifting from first to second or from second down to first, you always want to make sure you give it a very firm, hard click. You can't jump from first to third with a sequential shift motorcycle, so you have nothing to worry about there. But what you don't want to do is give it a very light click, and I'm going to show you guys what that looks like here. I'm going to squeeze my clutch in. I'm just going to press down ever so gently to shift, and I've gone from second into neutral, because that neutral rests between first gear and second gear. So you see I can rev on my throttle and nothing happens. So you guys want to make sure that when you go from first to second or second to first, that you forcefully click the bike all the way through. And see, going from first to second there, I only gave it a half click and I popped right into neutral. Get ourselves up to speed. Squeeze in the clutch, let go of the throttle, click up with our left foot all the way. We're not seeing a neutral light, so that's good. We're in second. Give it a little throttle, slowly let out on the clutch, and we're moving in second. Now we're getting up to about 3,000 RPM, which is where it likes to shift from second into third gear. So I'm going to squeeze in on clutch, let go of throttle, and shift up all at the same time. And now I slowly let the clutch back out and roll on my throttle again. And now we're running in third gear. So now we're going to go over shifting down, and it's really no different than shifting up, except you push down on the shift lever. So squeeze in on your clutch, let go of your throttle, shift down, And before I do anything, I'm just going to hold my clutch in here and ride through this curve. Now I'm going to increase my throttle a bit to match where my revs will be in this gear. Slowly let out on my clutch. And we're shifted down. Now, when you guys shift down, in time you'll learn to do what's called rev matching. And that's when you drop from a higher gear to a lower gear to keep your rear wheel from kind of locking up and doing a funny thing. So to do that, you guys just give your throttle a little blip while your clutch is in. Shift down into the next gear, and it makes it easier to shift. Eventually you'll get to doing that so it happens all in one movement. When you break it down into slower pieces, it doesn't work as well, but it should all happen at once. But practice doing it at these slower speeds in a parking lot, and you guys will get the hang of it very quickly. So another thing for you guys to keep in mind is you can always have your hand over the clutch, and by squeezing in the clutch you can take the power away from the bike at any time. So for example, my hand is on throttle right now. If I squeeze in on the clutch, my hand might still be on throttle, but none of that power is going to the bike. I can rev that and nothing happens because my hand is covering the clutch, squeezing it tightly, and the power is disengaged. So if you guys ever feel that you're having too much speed or you're getting a little out of control, you can always squeeze in on the clutch to immediately disengage power to the bike. That will take your power away immediately. It won't help you brake or slow down, but it takes away power if you accidentally grip the throttle too tightly and your bike starts to take off like too fast. You can just squeeze that clutch and take the power away. To brake, gently apply the rear and the front brake at the same time by pressing down with your right foot and squeezing with your right hand. Put your feet down at your stop, and you guys are stopped and good to go. So I'm going to shift down into first. And whenever I come to a red light, sometimes I forget what gear I'm in. I might be in second or third, depending on how quickly the light changed. I may have just squeezed in the clutch and applied my brakes and slowed down. So when you guys come to a red light, always click down through your gears until you get all the way to the bottom, and the shifter won't let you go further down in the gears. And once you guys are there, you know you're in first gear and you're at the appropriate gear for starting at a red light or from any other stop. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If it was, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below. You guys know the drill. And comment what you liked, what you didn't like, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I will try to respond to those as quickly as I can. And I will be covering some more advanced riding topics in upcoming videos, such as counter steering and things to look for. Another tip for you guys as you're coming to a stop, I personally never like to pull in to a parking space head on. So you can see right here, and it's much easier of course in an empty parking lot, but I'm facing out of the parking space. So that way, when I get on the bike, I don't have to put it in neutral or put it in first and hold the clutch and then push the bike backwards out of the parking space into the parking lot. If I'm already facing out of the parking space, I can just, let my clutch, use a little throttle, and I'm on my way. So it saves me that extra step of having to push my bike backwards out of a parking space. I will spend an extra minute or two just gently and slowly backing into a parking space to park, and I'd rather do that than have to try and back out when I'm leaving. So another tip for you guys, just try and always be facing out of a parking space. It'll help you guys, save you a lot of stress, and hopefully save you from having a minor accident or a major accident in a parking lot when someone isn't paying attention and you're trying to back out of your parking space on your motorcycle. So when you guys are come to a complete stop, there are a number of ways you can turn your bike off. I'm going to go over them now. The first, and probably the most common way, is to just hit your kill switch right here, the red button, flick it off, engine goes off. So that's probably your easiest way to do this. The second way that you can stop your bike is if you are in first gear and you have a modern bike that has an automatic kill switch. If you put the kickstand down, you can leave your bike in first, squeezing in on your clutch and or holding your brake if you need it, and just put the kickstand down. With this particular bike, that turns everything off and I'm good to go. The third way you can turn off your bike, which is considered the more proper way, is to put your bike in neutral if you're on flat, level ground. If not, you can leave it in first, and I'll explain why in a moment. And you can reach up here and just turn your key to off, and you're good to go. Now, if you leave your bike in neutral on flat ground, that's not a problem. Your bike probably isn't going to roll, and particularly if your bike has a lock for the forks, your bike will probably be okay from rolling. I always leave my bike parked in gear, however, so I like to leave it in first. And I do that for this reason. When I let go of the clutch, once the bike is totally off and the bike is in first, the bike can only roll about 6 inches forward and backward before the gear engages and it locks the bike up. So I know my bike cannot roll. So once you guys have got your bike parked and either in gear or in neutral, depending on your situation, go ahead and put your kickstand down. Gently lean it over till the weight's on the kickstand. Squeeze your front right brake and stand up. On this particular bike and most modern bikes, probably most bikes that have been built in at least the past 20 years, they have a fork lock. So I can turn my wheel all the way to the left, turn my key past off by pushing it down and over to where it says lock on my little ring there. I'm not sure if you guys can read it, but it says in very small print lock. I pull my key out. Now, after getting off my bike, this front wheel can't move. So this is the most secure position my bike can be parked in. It's in first gear, so it cannot roll forward or backward more than 6 inches or so. And the front wheel is also locked. So it's secure from rolling or moving in any way. And this is the most secure position I can put it in to prevent someone from stealing it. If they want to come up and try and load it onto a trailer or move it, they would have to physically pick up the bike because it will not move. In addition to this, I would recommend you guys get a wheel lock if you're worried about the security of your bike from someone stealing it. I will throw a link to my video review of my wheel lock down in the description. And it's just something you can clip right onto your front disc brake, lock it, and it has a little alarm built in, so if someone even so much as touches your front tire like that, the alarm will go off and people will hear it. It's pretty loud, maybe not as loud as I would have liked, but it's still a good way to secure your bike. This is about as secure as you can park and leave your bike anywhere, and obviously my bike hasn't been stolen yet, so far so good. In getting on, again, your order, key in, over, that unlocks your fork, rotate the bike up, put your front rail straight, kickstand up, and now that I can start this, I don't have to be in neutral to start. I can have it in first gear as long as I engage my clutch. I can start it up. Just as a cautious rider on the road, as a defensive rider, things to watch out for, things that I wish I had known when I first started riding, that now that I've been riding for almost half a year or so, I can see the road differently. So I'll be covering those for you guys in upcoming videos. But until then, guys, ride safe, ride on, and I will catch you all later. Deuces.